Yeah, I don't think I need Val Haste, eh? Damage seems pretty good. Pretty good. Fuck you. The damage, though. Jesus. And here we go. Easy game. 16. Yeah, cool. Nice. This is the second time I've made a guide for this build, and it is only better this time around, I think. I have had to drop a couple things I really liked that I wanted to keep, such as the automation from Skitterbots with Infernal Legion. I decided to get rid of that. I've also decided to get rid of one of the key items, which is the helmet. Ancient Skull has a pretty big downside for minions other than Arakaali's Fang spiders. And I wanted to use other minions this league because the Kingmaker was a lot cheaper than normal, so it justified using a really nice Animate Guardian setup. And then at that point, I needed to justify investing in keeping minions alive, so I needed to pick other minions to add to that. I decided to do Carrion Golem and Stone Golem on an Empower, Elemental Army, and Minion Life 6-link on the chest. It's working really well. The Golems don't die, almost ever, even in T16s. I've never seen the Animate Guardian go below 90% health. I'll show the Animate Guardian gear setup in a separate clip. The Spectres are the only things that die, and they're the thing I care about the least, so I'm okay with them dying. So I'm actually using them for Feeding Frenzy, and they are the Charge Monkeys. So they're not too important, I'm okay with them dying, but they're great to have when they stay alive. And they're easy to respawn, so I don't care too much about them. Golems are way easier to respawn, but they're more annoying when they die, for me anyway. And I couldn't justify fitting in Infernal Legion with Skitterbots and everything else. So Raise Spectre on Feeding Frenzy kind of edged that out, and I'm very happy with this. If I didn't have all of the other minions, I would have quite a lot of space for other things, like the Cyclone cast while channeling Flesh Offering setup, or even swapping out the gloves and putting Desecrate in somewhere. Or sorry, swapping out boots and putting Desecrate in somewhere. On the Cyclone, for example, that's where I had it. So, this is the final version, I think. I'm not going to make any changes from this point. I might make upgrades. There's always better minion jewels. There's always better clusters. But I think I'm done with everything else. The only thing I need to actually fix is the implicit on this hat, which I can do while I'm talking. Nothing is out of the ordinary. This is just a really good corrupt, but not necessary. Finding a... you don't even need a 6-link. As long as you get a 5% to all max res Brass Dome, just make it a 6-socket, make it a 5-link, done. That's your entry-level chest. The only other things you need is the dagger, and either a Squire or an Aegis Aurora. In this league, they're very cheap, but in any other league, you're probably going to start with an Aegis and then save up for a Squire. Unless you're playing a really good first League starter build, and then you can just skip to a Squire if you make enough money. Highly recommend. Because as you can see here... Oh, hang on, I'll show the defenses in a minute. So as I was saying, even with a Squire, and without using Discipline, this thing has 1400 ES, which is a good amount. It makes up for the fact that I don't have an Aegis. So as long as I still have Divine Shield and Glancing Blows, block cap almost and most of the time, 75-70 with roomies up on full, that's pretty tanky. I don't die often, and I made it to 96. At about 94 and 95, I die too often to actually catch up in levels. So I need to actually focus and build tankier than like I normally would in order to get past 95. So I hit 96 just to prove that it's fine. and it is. It's still good. This thing can farm tier 16s. It can probably do Simulacrum if I snapshot with an Aegis. It can probably do up to wave 30 if you get lucky or if you're better than I am. But that's definitely on the table. I'm going to have a PoB link in the description of... Well, it'll show everything. It'll show the tree. It'll show all the gear, all the gems. I don't know if it'll show charms. It probably won't. It might. If it still shows charms and we're not in Affliction League, ignore them. I should probably take them out when I do my PoB. I'll think about that. They might not even appear in the PoB. Quickly, I'll explain what they are, just so you know they're not, you know, making the build better than it should be. Although it is giving some nice things. So charms this league are busted. This one is free onslaught if you have 5 allies, which I needed to get, because, as I discovered, Skitterbots don't count as allies. They are minions, and there are 2 of them, but they don't add to the count of allies near you. So, I dropped them for half that reason alone, but instead, I'm quite enjoying having Spectres and 2 Golems and a really nice Animate Guardian. Feels like an actual minion build. You're better off just looking at the PoB and copying it. You watch gameplay to find out if you want to play the build, and then if you know what you're doing, you just copy it. If you don't know what you're doing, this is not a great build to mess with if you don't know how it works, but it's not awful. It just takes a bit of getting used to, and the timing of playing the build is important. So the playstyle here is the boots make corpses, so you run around, you spawn a worm from the worm flask, which your allies / minions kill. You get the credit for killing the worm, even though your minions kill it because of the gloves, which triggers the Arakaali's Fang to spawn spiders using corpses. So having corpses around you is very important to the playstyle of this build. Doing a little circle fills them up in like a small area around you, and then hitting the flask is usually enough to get 18. I don't know why it's 18. I think it's the corpse limit. So you go back for a second round and you get 20. It's pretty good. It's very automated. I'm not really sacrificing much damage at all. The only thing I'm missing is like Val Haste, which would mean I have to somehow drop another gem, which I could drop this. Hang on, I may have just upgraded the build even more. Wait, no, I need Dex. Okay. I'll rethink that at some point. If you get... I need 7 Dex, and I can add Val Haste to this nutty setup. That's kind of tempting. Okay, that's something to squeeze in later on like a jewel somewhere. That's a plan. Alright. So that was a short explanation. I will explain the gear again, just in case I missed it the first time. So, it doesn't matter what kind of dagger you get, the links and the colors are the only important part. So as long as you get an Arakaali's Fang, I like running it with red, red, blue. The optimal setup, if you just have the Fang, is red, blue, green. The red, blue, green is multi-strike, unbound ailments, and withering touch. If you just have the dagger itself, that's the red, blue, green. And the Aegis, whatever. When you get a Squire, you need to fill out the other 3. So the other 3 I add there are Melee Splash, Minion Damage, and Void Manipulation. For single target, I swap out Melee Splash for Ruthless. I don't think Ruthless is the best option, but it works for me just fine. I don't care. It's still damage. So that's gems. Molten Shell on cast when damage taken, because we are stacking armor and as much ES recovery as possible to combine the effects of Divine Shield and get the most out of that. I'm not scaling much armor on the tree at all, but I'm still at 74% reduction. 17k is low. Yeah, 21k armor is low, but it's enough to make the ES recovery from Divine Shield very nice, because I have almost block cap on both attack and spell block. But it's not true block, it's with glancing blows. But still, it's very tanky without an Aegis, and that's saying something. I thought it was going to be way squishier. It's really not. Actually quite impressive. The life and ES totals, they might look low, but with the amount of damage reduction and recovery and block and all that, this is actually a lot. This feels great. You do have to keep an eye on it. You can... I've never been one-shot, not in a long time, but I have been chunked very hard several times. Actually, real quick, what is my death count? I'm gonna guess 40. Oh, okay. Right, yep. This was a necromancer before this, so he died a few times in the campaign. But that doesn't make up 78, but still. Anyway, so quickly explain gems. So the Animate Guardian is very important to keep alive because it's got a lot of very nice bonuses on it. It's applying a curse, it's giving a small aura, it's giving Fortify, it's giving Culling Strike. It's very important to keep this alive. I'll show the Animate Guardian gear. Okay, this will be a quick explanation of what I think is the best Animate Guardian setup. Go somewhere where I can drop items without deleting them. Then I'll explain them one by one. I kind of don't need to. So, Leocast Helmet. 50% increased damage. Good. Asenath's Gentle Touch for the curse enemies with temp chains on hit. I have a curse aura, and I don't have +1 curse. But, if the Animate Guardian has +1 curse, and curse on hit, they can apply a curse without overriding mine. Even though I only have 1, he's got 2, so he can keep applying it. And I can't reapply an aura. I think. I'm not gonna... Don't quote me on that. I don't know how this game works inside. It's fucked up. Kingmaker. Expensive. Fortify and Cull and Rarity and... yeah, good. Earthcall's Pelt. Life and life regen. Keeps the AG alive. Very important. Also, give it minion life. Just cause. Okay, hopefully that's enough. The gear is the whole reason it's staying alive. The things that I'm doing to help it stay alive is giving it Empower, Minion Life, and Elemental Army. So technically the AG is a 4-link, but I have Carrion Golem and Stone Golem sharing the Empower and the defensive gems so they also don't die and they get increased effect. I have +1 Golem from an Anoint because I didn't want to snake up towards the tree. This is instead of Charisma, which will help me fit auras better, but like I explained earlier, I've only just squeezed in Malevolence. And without it, it's fine. This is just kind of... This is kind of insane damage for me at this point. This feels unfair, like I'm kind of breaking the game. But that's the best feeling. Okay, so that's the hat, that's the... I don't know if I explained Ray's Spectre, but yeah. It's on Feeding Frenzy, because I'm okay with the Spectres dying. They're the least valuable team member, so they can have Feeding Frenzy, and they only have 2 purposes. They are Charge Monkeys, and they are Feeding Frenzy. I don't think they can taunt, I don't think they do damage. They might occasionally smack a worm for me and help spawn something, but I'm okay with them dying. The Golems offer much better benefits for damage and survivability, and they are tankier and better at taunting, so I prefer having them on the Empower survivability links rather than Spectres. I was previously running with Carrion Golem on Feeding Frenzy and Spectres in here, but Carrion on Feeding Frenzy, I was getting annoyed resummoning it because I kept forgetting or didn't see it was dying, so I decided to try and forget about it by making them stay alive forever, and it's working. Yeah, Alls is the best option here. It gives a free 50% aura. Purity is the cheapest one. You can also find Determination. There might be a Malevolence one. I don't know. Oh yeah, my auras. So, I have Despair on Awaken Blasphemy. I have Determination just chillin'. I have Purity just chillin'. I have Vitality just chillin'. And Malevolence is also now just chillin'. Okay, if I had to drop Malevolence, I could probably fit Skitterbots in, just for the bonuses it gives, and that would make more sense. You don't need much mana here. I don't actually have anything important. And Molten Shell can still trigger off... Ooh. That might be bad, actually. Molten Shell might not trigger often enough with that. Actually, no, if I'm walking, it can. Okay, this is very tight, but it still works. Might need to get just a smidge more mana reservation efficiency somewhere. My hotbar is pretty fucked up, because I dropped Bile Haste, I dropped Cyclone, so... Pretty dumb looking hotbar, but the playstyle is just spawn the spiders and zip around and occasionally convocate them to you. There is no Skitterbots with Infernal Legion to help summon things, so if you run out of flask charges, you're kinda screwed, and you've gotta pray that somehow the Carrion Golem and the Stone Golem can kill a white mob. Or at least you can run around until you get flasks back, or you can panic portal out, who knows. It works pretty fine, but you do have to get used to it, but you'll learn pretty quick if you die from having no spiders out, that, you know, occasionally hitting the worm flask, just a good idea, just to keep the spiders refreshed in case there's a couple missing, despawned. Gloves and boots are working in tandem to make corpses and give us kill credit, which we need for the dagger to spawn spiders. If you don't understand the interaction, all you need to know is you need the dagger, you need the gloves, you need the boots. Those three items make that interaction work. If something kills the spiders, sorry, if something kills the worms while you're near a corpse, and you're wearing the gloves, spiders will spawn. That's all you need to know. But you do need the worm flask. Okay, sorry, let me restate. The mandatory interaction here, you need the dagger, you need the gloves, you need the boots, you need the flask. Those are the 4 mandatory items. Like, that's the base thing to make this function. Technically not even boots and gloves, but for simplicity's sake, boots and gloves are such quality of life for this build in particular. After those 4 items, get an Aegis Aurora, get an Impresence Amulet, unless you can afford an All's Uprising, but Impresence is perfectly fine for as long as you need. Then put Despair on Blasphemy. If you get the Despair Impresence, you could get the Temp Chain Impresence. I recommend getting the Despair Impresence, because Animate Guardian has Curse on Hit Temp Chains from Asenath's Touch, and the +1 curse from the boots. So having a Despair Impresence is better, because I can't reasonably find a Despair on Hit gloves to give my Animate Guardian, because I just want to leave it with Asenath's Touch, which is unique. And this gives us Despair. So Asenath gives Temp Chains on hit, this gives Despair. I don't need... hang on, so I need to explain this. So I have 1 curse as an aura, but I only have 1 curse. I don't have +1 curse from my Ascendancy. Yeah, I don't. It's over here. I don't even have Whispers of Doom. So I've only got 1 curse. I'm applying 2 to most bosses and most rares though, because the Animate Guardian has Temp Chains on hit from Asenath's Gentle Touch gloves. Yeah, so it's fine. It stays up most of the time. In fact, I can see the Animate Guardian causing Asenath's explosions. It still works 100% on the AG, which is kind of cool. I have Portal on a gem swap. Not a gem swap, sorry. I weapon swap, and then I can use Portal. That's how I fit the final gem in. Everything is very tight and very well thought out here. It's not min-max to all hell, but it's min-max to my comfort. And that's saying something, because boy have I changed a lot, slowly, piece by piece. I think I'm going to stick with this for the duration of the rest of the league while I'm trying to farm challenges. This build can kind of do everything. It's done Maven, and now I'm saving up to do Uber Elder by myself. Because Maven was quite annoying, but only cost me 2 portals. Now, that's pretty good. And I did the memory game first try, which, yay, go me. Let's talk about the tree real quick, and then I'll end with more gameplay. There's nothing really of note to think about. The beginning is a very normal minion tree. I could play this as Necro, just with SRS until, like, yellow maps. And then if I get a couple cheeky divines, I can buy the dagger, buy an Aegis, buy the boots and gloves, and get started. Pretty good. So come up here, here, here. Come here late. Come here early. Come here in the campaign. Come down here. Get the auras by Act 5. Get the block by the end of the campaign. Go for the block. By the end of the campaign, make sure you come down and get Divine Shield, and these, and the damage. You can go for the Cluster Jewel last. This Cluster Jewel was 8 Divines, and that's near the end of the league, so it's probably going to be more expensive early. So you don't need to copy this. Before this, I had the exact same thing, without 35% increased effect. All that's doing is adding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6% attack speed. That's all that's adding. For 7 Divines, I'm adding 6% attack speed. Wow, when I say it out loud like that, it doesn't sound worth it. But anyway, moving on. Regrets. So that's the tree. Again, copy it in PoB. Pretty easy. If you want to change anything, you can. Just be aware that I am barely res capped. I am not perfectly block capped or chaos capped. I am 80% all res, but I do not have overcap for the sake of being cursed with Ellie weakness. So, real quick, a little bit more advice. There are 2 map mods you can't run. Elemental Weakness Curse, and Reduced Effect of Auras on you. Because that bumps Purity of Elements down below cap. So, don't run either of those. Cannot regen is a bad idea, but you can do it, technically. Because flasks still work. So, cannot regen is doable, but still painful. The Squire, obviously, the Squire will be expensive in any other league. In this league, it's 1 div, because, holy crap, this league has been amazing. Getting a nice movement speed corrupt on the boots here is a brilliant luxury. It's quite noticeable too. The gloves, I don't have anything fun on them, because I haven't been bothered, but I think you can get like a nice life corrupt. Getting a Darkness Enthroned belt with at least 90% effect is important. I don't want to pay for a 99 or 100, so 95 is my breakpoint. And put your best ones in here, preferably ones that have increased minion damage if used recently, like this. But it doesn't super matter. So I just have these in there. I have this one in there for the Life and ES roll, which is beautiful. Squeezing in gems is very tight, but you'll see my full list. You can decide what to add, what to remove. I recommend this setup. It's quite good. The only maintenance, or the only upkeep this build needs, is occasionally resummoning a Spectre. If your Animate Guardian dies, it's time to cry, because Kingmaker is a little bit expensive outside of this league. So, don't let AG die. I guess, quickly explain, something that helps keep AG alive a lot is Grave Intentions. This wheel helps a lot. And obviously this wheel. Apart from that, I don't have any other minion defense wheels. There's this little line, but I have 1, 2, 3 wheels on the tree dedicated to keeping minions alive, and the Empower Life Elemental Army links, and my AG has not died in weeks. Actually, it hasn't died since I gave it a Kingmaker, and I haven't been very careful, and I don't even have the Convocation cooldown or the Recover Life on Death. So, it could be tankier, I could be smarter. If I was out of this league, I would be smarter, because I don't want it to die. But it hasn't even scared me yet, so kind of don't need to worry about it. Oh, and it's not even a 21. So you can get more out of this. Oh, and I don't have +1. So there are 2 more levels you can squeeze out of this. Very good. So that's, yeah, the tree you can look at the PoB for. Nothing really needs explaining. If it does need explaining, ask a question in the YouTube video and I'll be happy to answer. If something doesn't make sense, Same deal. Just ask, and I'll try my best to explain. This whole build, I'm gonna guess, is about 20 to 30 div at this point, including the tree and the jewels and all that. It's an 8 div cluster. So, and the charms, pretty good. So I think I'm edging like 30 div now, which is not the furthest I've ever taken a minion build, but pretty far. That's a good build. It should